Gary Bell, aka the Doctor of Doom, here with Jason Syner from JS Designs. Going to ask him a couple of questions. How long have you been installing?
I started installing in 1997. I built my first system with a JL Audio 10 W0, a Soundstream reference amplifier, and a pair of real quickie makeshift kick panels where I used concrete to strengthen the floorboard instead of using wood and fiberglass. Went to the Spring Break Nationals car show, Daytona Beach, Florida, got fourth in novice, and it lit a fire underneath me. I was like, you know what? I've got to be involved in this industry. I've got to build custom cars and really push the envelope from an amateur standpoint in a DIY environment.
You were on Sony's team for a long time. I don't know if you're still affiliated with them or not. Was that your first big sponsorship?
It wasn't my first big sponsorship. I actually started out with Rockford Fosgate. Okay. They did a small sponsorship for me, helped me get the equipment, did a tour of shows with Rockford Fosgate, and then from there went into Team Explode with Sony, with Mike Riceland, CarAudionElectronics. He really gave me a real good opportunity to go to the national level. Did SEMA for many, many years, which is where I got my big foot in the door for large projects.
I know you'd mentioned a JL Audio woofer. One of the questions on my list is, what was the first piece of car audio equipment you ever bought? Was that JL woofer?
Actually, no. The very first piece of car audio gear I ever bought was an Alpine 7909 head unit. I actually got lucky and hit big from the get-go. And I used that with a real entry-level Boss amplifier for many, many years. 600 watts, gave me great bass, good sound in my car. And then I really started getting into the competition stuff with JL Audio.
What was your first car you ever bought?
A 1987 Ford LTD Crown Victoria.
Who's the person that you would say is responsible for turning you on to car audio?
One of my good buddies really showed me what sub-bass and subwoofers were. I really didn't have any clue about it. I had an S10 pickup that was lowered and it had the racing wheels, and one of my buddies came over, saw the truck, took one look inside and said, you've got to put a system in this. You need a pair of 12s behind the back seat. So I went, bought two Pioneer IMPP 12s, installed them in a wood box with carpet behind the back seat, went straight to Daytona Beach, bumping all day long. The amplifier shut off, it got overheated from the Florida sun, and that was really my first long-term exposure to car audio and the pleasures of it.
Did you read Car Audio magazine back in those days?
Absolutely. My first real influence was Steve Brown at Alpine. He did a red Acura, and he rebuilt the dash in it. And everything else he did in the car was really, really custom, but the one thing that really drew me to the car was that he rebuilt the dash for sound quality. And the way I actually viewed that car for the very first time was in Car Audio magazine, and I read that article 100 times trying to figure out how he could actually rebuild a dash as if he was Acura. And it had a fantastic vinyl finish work on it, looked really good. Rob Rice was always a big inspiration for me. Him and Gary Biggs really did some colorful installations and had a lot of high-end gear, and that was an early influence. And then lately it's been Chris Yotto. He's been someone I've really looked up to, and his attention to detail and his willingness to share his knowledge with some of the guys that are moving up in the ranks has really been an inspiration.
Did you at any point have any professional training, or was this all self-taught and digging into the magazines and learning what you could?
Everything I know has been completely self-taught through Car Audio magazine and many, many, many trials and errors in a garage.